Hey guys, welcome back to another live hangout with Pete and Filippo, the first one of 2022 on my channel. How you doing, Filippo?
Doing pretty good this year. I love how the year started, and I said this before. I don't know how it's going to end for the United States because we
Yeah,
do have. Hopefully, we are in the World Cup, and hopefully, we do well. But it could be bad. But it's a very strong start, right? January 1st, all these transfers we're going to talk about today. Today, Christian Pulisic looked like himself, especially in the second half, right? He
yeah,
looked like
and got a
himself again.
goal.
Got a goal. He was struggling before the goal, but after he got the goal, he looked like himself again. It was probably confidence issues. So things
Yeah,
are looking bright for the United States. Obviously, it's been only 2 days. So,
yeah.
yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about today, guys. Specifically, we're going to go over a lot of the rumors and possible transfer destinations for a lot of different guys. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about Pepi and DK because there's some context to both of those. But mostly, we're going to focus on all the other guys that could still move over the next 29 days before the transfer window closes. So, and there are a ton, guys. I don't think this is the last we've seen of either transfers of USMNT players within Europe or USMNT players going from MLS to Europe. Question for you before we start, though, Tack, and this is somebody who on my Patreon asked me this question. He said, is this the norm now? Can we expect every transfer window a couple of Americans leaving MLS and going to Europe? And I gave him my thoughts, but I want to hear yours.
I don't know what you said. So,
Yeah,
whatever you said, it might match. And I think, yes. I think it can even grow actually a little bit more, right? I'm comparing it a lot to South American leagues, not just Brazil, like South America in general. You have these young guys emerging and they're always linked. Not necessarily every window the players we expect will get transfers. Maybe we're getting a little bit too much like now, especially in January, which they're lower the expectations. But throughout the year, right? So the two windows, yes, expect a lot of players from MLS to start going abroad, especially as you get more successful ones, right? I think once Alfonso Davies worked out there, people started looking a little bit more and more. And then Pepi, if he works out as well, Brendan Aaronson, the tendency is for it to grow. And then hopefully eventually MLS grows to a point where we start to hold some players and they develop well staying here. And who knows?
yeah.
But we're not there yet.
So long as MLS continues to develop players, I think there will continue to be sales abroad on one condition. MLS can't turn into Liga MX and start overinflating the value of the players because then the European clubs will go, oh, for that price, I can get this guy who's already in Europe. You know what I mean? Or I can get a better option for that price. So it's good so long as you have to do two things: keep developing players, and also make sure that they tag those sell-on fees to make money instead of try to overinflate the initial asking price, because that's what will slow the market down if MLS does that. So, anywho, before we get into it, I want to start off talking. How's everybody doing? Good to see you all here. Thanks for coming to hang out. We're going to talk about 12 to 15 guys today, and we'll go through them methodically. If you have your thoughts, questions, as always, leave them in the super chat. But before we dive into it, guys, make sure you like the video. I always forget to ask that. So smash the like button so that other people can find us. Helps with the algorithm a little bit. Should we start with Pepi? I know we talked about Pepi a lot on Filippo's stream the other day, and a lot has been said about it. But after the stream, there was a little bit of context that it was coming out, with Pepi. And it was actually initially reported by Derek Ray. So I just want to put this up here for people to see, because I think it's important to provide some context to this transfer. So let me just put it up here. All right. So can you guys see that there? So he says the other background American fans should know is Augsburg have an American investor by the name of David Blitzer, Balt International Holdings. However, his arrival was a bit mysterious in terms of the announcement and viewed slightly suspiciously by a segment of the Augsburg support. This is complicated to explain, but Balt International Holdings has a 45% stake in Hoffman Investoren GmbH, which runs the pro football arm of the club. However, Blitzer has no role on the supervisory board or the club itself. The idea of bringing him in as an investor was to improve marketing, sponsorship opportunities, and the U.S. market for Augsburg. So, guys, when we talked about this, it seemed like 20 million was very high for Pepi, right? And that makes sense that he was going to go to Wolfsburg. It was almost a done deal. And then they came in with a much better offer to try to steal that transfer. And that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for that American businessman. So initially, your thoughts, Filippo, on that?
Yeah, again, I talked to a few people as well. The reports of, and we made a whole video about it too. The reports of Wolfsburg were true, and the deal seemed like it was pretty much done. And that did come out of nowhere, and it did surprise. I think it was even reported by a few people saying that it was a turn of events. And yeah, again, it's what we talked about before. 20 million, maybe in a few years, we might see it as a bargain for Pepe, or we might see it as an overpay. We'll find out depending on how he
Yeah,
does, but it did seem like the value was way too high for Augsburg, and it seemed like something else was behind it, not just Pepe's value and talent, right? And then there was some of the conspiracy theories of Bayern Munich being behind it, right? They loaned the money to Augsburg so they can buy Pepe later, which I guess they've done that in the past of Gnabry with Werder Bremen. I guess they've done it. But many different sources have come out and have spoken that it's not true. It's not Bayern. It's much more obvious and right in front of us. It's Pepe's value
yeah,
plus the American owner that came in to pump up the value a little bit more and take him out of Wolfsburg. Otherwise, he would have been a Wolfsburg player, probably announced soon.
yeah. No, I agree. Before we move on from Pepe, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best possible transfer, 1 being horrific, where do you rate this transfer for Pepe?
Just from a soccer standpoint, ignoring the numbers,
Yeah, just the overall transfer. How do you rate it for Pepe for USMNT fans?
just as a soccer perspective, probably a 4, below average, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Uh,
you don't think this is a good move for Pepe?
so here are my issues. One, I don't know of Augsburg ever developing players. I don't know personally. I haven't seen it. That's the first thing. The second thing, after talking to Josh and many people that have watched Augsburg, it's not really the team that I think will benefit Pepe to his potential, at least not in terms of playing style. The things I like about it is one, he's going to Bundesliga, so he's going to be playing at a higher level, tougher competition. He's also going to a team fighting for relegation. I don't think it's the end of the world if he's in Bundesliga 2 next year, but there's that possibility that does bother me a little bit. I would have rated a very high rating if he went to PSV, Salzburg, these teams that are maybe an easier
Ajax.
transition, Ajax, to be behind
Sure,
Sebastian Haller.
sure.
I'll say this though. I'll say this. I probably would have given Wolfsburg, even though some people disagreed and said it was fine. Some people in Bundesliga, I would have given Wolfsburg a worse rating. I think Augsburg might be better than Wolfsburg right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a different. I'm going to give it a 6 because I think overall it's a net positive for Pepe. I know the Augsburg style of play is not the best, but I think this is the right move for him at the right time and a good stepping stone to something bigger. A lot depends on Pepe himself. Can he finish the chances that he gets? So I'm going to give him a 6. I don't
Will he
think it's
get
as bad as a
chances?
4. Huh?
Will he get chances?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
A lot of things we just don't know. But that's Pepe. Let's move on to DK. And I know, guys, a very good video by Filippo breaking down the whole DK transfer. I'm going to give my quick thoughts on it, and then you can maybe pipe in if you have anything.
Hmm.
It's mostly good, right? It's a good level, right? The championship, it's a proven level. We know he can do it there. It's a coach that believes in him and wanted him. They're in 4th place, so there's still the chance for promotion to the Premier League, and it was a realistic transfer fee for Orlando. All good things. I think, playing at a higher level is what DK needs to keep challenging himself. The one concern that I have is it being Ismail, Valerian Ismail, the same coach who was his coach as Barnsley. Terrible, terrible style of play, and trying to bring that to West Brom, which might work. It feels like they use DK as a battering ram rather than a soccer player, and it feels like the whole team is just one big battering ram. Now, I think DK needs to improve technically, and I was hoping that he would go to a team that tries to play football a little more, soccer a bit more, in order to facilitate that improvement. And my only concern is this may not actually help him to develop. He may do well and he may get goals, and I think he'll get opportunities. But in terms of his technical development as a 21-year-old, that's my one concern. What are your thoughts?
So the first thing that I agree with that take, and I saw a lot of people also talk about it, how they wanted him to go to a Dutch league that maybe focuses a little bit more on keeping possession, distributing the game, more technical side. But he went to a league that probably won't focus on him improving that. They'll just exploit the heck out of his strengths already, right? Where
Yeah,
he's as a
he's
target
physical.
man, a target man essentially. That's what he's going to be. And it worked at Barnsley. He was effective. He got 9 goals, I think, in 18 or 19 games, something like that. help them fight for a spot in the Premier League, which now, by the way, they're fighting against relegation without their coach and without DK and a couple other pieces that left. I personally like the transfer for DK. And the example I used was other players that didn't really develop their technique very much and found a way to be effective in the Premier League at an older age after staying in the Championship for a while. One of the examples I cited was Mikel Antonio. He stayed in the Championship for 7 seasons. I believe he was almost 25 or 26 when he moved to the Premier League. And the technique, everything of his game is good enough to be effective in the Premier League, plus all the extras he has already, which DK already has. The other example I used is one that just got to the Premier League, which was Ivan Toney from Brentford. Something similar, a target man, bodies people, technique is not all the way up there, but he stayed long enough in the Championship to be effective in the Premier League. So what I said, that my opinion is, I think it's a good one because Callum Robinson, their forward, has been sucking, just to say the least. West Brom can't score. They're terrible at scoring. The defense is solid, the best defense in the Championship, but they can't score. DK and Ismail loves DK, so he's probably going to put him to play. I think DK has proven he can score in the Championship. He probably will score. And whether they go back or not promotion, I wouldn't mind if DK stayed in the Championship 2 or 3 seasons and then made a jump to the Premier League at age 23, 24, like Tony or Antonio, and became an effective player. I'm okay with it. I think DK's taking slow steps, and I like the fact that he's going to a good team in the Championship, right? Not a crap team to fight for relegation. He's again
define good team. They're a good team in that they're near the table, but they don't play good soccer. You know what I mean?
I mean a team that's fighting for something besides relegation or mid-table. They have something to thrive for. They're not going to play good soccer. That's not the coach style, and that's why they brought DK. They brought him because they needed someone to throw the ball up and let them body people, like Barnsley played. It's how he's going to play. That won't work in the Premier League. They'll get relegated if they go and play that way in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, they will. Epictetus Casanova here with a good question. How much can he improve technically at this stage, though? And it's a fair point. The golden age of technical development, guys, I've said this before, is 8 to 14. And DK didn't actually start playing soccer until he was about 14, which explains a lot his technical deficiencies, right? That being said, you can still develop technically. Everybody, remember Jordan Morris when he was 20, right? Built like a bull, very fast, very little technique. Over the years in Seattle, he has improved. His left foot, technically, he's still not, very good technically, but he's definitely made strides of progress. I would say between 25 to 30% improvement can be made technically. He's only 21, so he's still young enough that he's not going to hit his prime until 26, 25, 26 probably. So he can improve technically. Whether or not he will at West Brom remains to be seen. Either way, it's better than Orlando, right? Because he's going to have less time. He's going to have less space. He's going to have higher pressure, more stakes. He's going to have to work very hard in training, right? So overall, this is a net positive. I give DK's move an 8. Where do you give it?
I'm going the same as you, an 8. It's not perfect, like we said. It's not the perfect, but an 8. It's a good move. Also, it's, we forgot to mention, it's a permanent deal. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes players
like 4.5-year deal.
Yeah, so they go to Europe and they keep bouncing around. Like DK, was it Barnsley, Orlando, West Brom? Now he has somewhere to stay and establish himself.
Yeah. So that's enough on DK. Guys, again, if you haven't watched Tak's video on DK, go to his channel and check it out. We have a lot of other guys to talk about. I think we've covered Pepi and DK to death. But a great start, right? There are another 10 or 12 guys that could move in January. I want to start off talking about Serginho Dest. Now, Dest is currently with COVID, guys, so he's out probably until the 10th or so, or at least has to quarantine until the 10th. But he does not appear to be in favor at Barcelona. Xavi does not appear to rate him. There are rumors. We've heard Bayern Munich. We've heard Manchester City. We've heard Arsenal. I've heard Dortmund.
Chelsea.
We've heard Chelsea as well. Of those options, I don't think Bayern Munich is going to happen. A lot of people in Germany have said it's not happening. And they have Benjamin Pavard there. Even if he went there, I don't know how much playing time he would get. I would be okay with Arsenal. Of those 4 options, if he's going to move, I would prefer Arsenal or Dortmund. What about you?
So short-term, Chelsea wouldn't be a problem because they don't have wingbacks. The problem is
they're going to make him play left back, dude.
They don't have a right back either, a right wing back. It's
They've got Reece
Aspilicueta.
James.
He's out for the season.
Is he?
Or at least like 8 weeks or something. He's out for a long time. He had a torn muscle. They
Oh
played
shit! I must have
Aspilicueta.
missed that.
That's why Pulisic was moved there today as well. They only have Aspilicueta right
Oh,
now.
right.
So they
But
lost
Aspilicueta
Chilwell.
plays there too, no?
Yeah, but he's old. He can't finish games. He can't play every week too. He's super old. He's ancient, and he's running out of his contract too. They're going to let him go. They already said that he's going to Barcelona apparently for next season. That's what they're rumoring. So, would he start for Arsenal though? The Japanese right
Yeah,
back
they've
they
got a
have,
Japanese guy
he's
there
good.
right now. He's good, but he's very defensive right back.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just find his name. I can't remember his name now. Hang on.
Yeah, the problem with Chelsea is that like he would probably get minutes this year and play because they just are very thin on the wingback position, and Tuchel loves wingbacks. The question with Chelsea is how would it look long term, right? We wouldn't want him to go there, and the next season he just warms the bench for whatever reason.
So this is the guy that's the Arsenal right back right now. He's a good right back, but he doesn't bomb up the field the way Serginho Dest does. He's more of a defensive right back. He has one assist all season long. A good player for Arsenal, 23 years old. But if they're looking for something more attacking, I could see Dest. Now that I somehow missed the news about Reece James getting a torn muscle. So that could be interesting, especially because they play with wingbacks. And honestly, let's be honest. Right now, Dest is more of a wingback than a right back. Okay, he still has to improve defensively, which is something he'll have to do if he wants to play for Chelsea. So, I mean, Dortmund is another option. They have Thomas Meunier there and Felix Passlack, but Passlack has not played very much this season. Meunier is like Dest in that he's pretty good going forward, but has real defensive weaknesses as well. You know, I just don't know that Manchester City is ever going to happen. They have Cancelo, they have Kyle Walker. I don't see it. I don't see Manchester City happening.
Pete, someone said there's another possibility. I wouldn't be opposed to this. What if he got like a 6-month loan to Chelsea, and then we go from there? Because then he would play these 6 months, and then after we'll see what happens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think a loan would be fine, you know, and then after that we can see how he does. If they like him, maybe they buy him, you know. Maybe they do a swap. They send Lukaku to Barcelona. All right. Lukaku, man. Running his mouth, not a good idea. All right, so that's Serginho Dest. I don't know if this is going to happen, though. It's possible.
He said he wants to stay, right? There were reports saying that Dest asked to stay. I don't know how true they are, but
I mean, yeah, he has to figure out, though, if he's not going to play, he needs to be playing, right? You know, he's not going to get better without playing. So, guys, we don't have a lot of real strong information. We have rumors. We have, you know, things come out, but you don't know how reliable all these rumors are. Not Manchester City or Bayern, but I would be okay with Dortmund, Arsenal, or Chelsea if he went to any of those three. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Miles Robinson. We've heard from Carlos Bocanegra that there's no interest in Miles Robinson. Now, Ryan of the FIFA America podcast, he's a co-host, mentioned today, and I know he's got some good sources, that they have 2 offers from Bundesliga clubs for Miles Robinson, but that Atlanta doesn't want to sell him. Now, we don't know for sure if that's true. We're just relaying information that is out there. I find it surprising that there's no interest in Miles Robinson, because I think he's done enough over the last year or two to definitely get some European interest. I'm not saying for sure this is true, but it's something to be aware of. It seems like it could be true to me, that there would be interest. I just don't believe there's no interest in Miles Robinson. I don't believe that. What are your thoughts?
Interest, yeah, I don't believe there's no interest. What it could have is an issue with the transfer fee, right? Clubs want
Are they overpricing?
Atlanta wants like 2x, and that team is willing to play X. So that can be a problem. I doubt there's no interest based off his performance against even some elite center forwards, right? Like, for example, Raul Jimenez. He played and just Gold Cup was very good, solid in MLS, which so interest, yeah, I don't believe there's no interest. There could be issues with the transfer, which was what Ryan reported, right? That they offered whatever 6 million or 8 million, and Atlanta wants more.
Yeah. I mean, it could be Atlanta driving up the price. Real quickly, though, this is interesting because of Ricardo Pepi. You know, Ricardo Pepi is overinflated value because of the American owner, businessman, the 20 million. you can't compare the two. Like, no one's going to pay 20 million for Miles Robinson. It's just not going to happen. He's not worth it, for one thing, at least not right now. And that was a very unique situation. So again, it's like MLS clubs, if they want this sort of train to Europe to continue, they have to keep the initial asking price realistic and make their money on the sell-ons. Because like Miles Robinson's only 24. So if a team buys him now for, say, 10 million and, sells him on for 30 million and they get another 10 million off that 30 3 years from now, that's very possible. Now, Miles Robinson,
center back.
Also a center back. They last longer, right? They can still be good up into their early 30s. So he's got lots of time. For Miles Robinson, I think a move is important because he's sort of achieved everything he can achieve. He's won MLS Cup, broke into the U.S. men's national team. MLS isn't pushing him enough anymore. He's at that point where to really improve, he needs to be challenged, right? And he's the perfect time to do it. It's time for Miles Robinson, for me, to move, to get, and I know Atlanta fans probably don't want to hear that. He's been a solid center back for you, but then Atlanta should take that money that they get for him and invest it in another center back, right? That's something that they should be doing. Maybe give George Campbell, another young center back, more opportunities next year. We'll see. But yeah.
One question right there. So he's got offer from Bundesliga, and obviously I would prefer Bundesliga over the Championship, especially for Miles Robinson. Would you see a problem if he landed in the Championship?
I wouldn't see a problem with it. The thing is that his weaknesses are his passing, right? And his reading of the game. His 1v1 defending and his aerial ability, great. It's his reading of the game at high speeds, and it's his passing out of the back, his technical work that needs to improve. And my concern with the Championship is the technical side may not get a lot of focus.
He will be pressed there, though. They like to press in that league, too.
He will get pressed, right? But then a lot of teams in response to that will just lump it long if they get pressed. So unless it's maybe Swansea who tries to play a little more, I don't know.
Or a team that possibly goes to the Premier League next season. So pretty much be a transition, right? He goes, plays 6 months in the Championship, and then he's in the Premier League right after. Fulham? I don't know.
Maybe Fulham. Tim Ream replacement could be an interesting option there.
He's
Tim
already
Ream was very good with his feet. That was the one thing about Tim Ream that at least, you can say. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on from Miles Robinson. Again, we don't know how much of that is true. This is just information. I know Ryan generally has good sources, but let's be honest, guys. Sometimes also agents put out information in order to try to get a better deal. I can't verify anything at this point. That's all I want.
But guys, Ryan's by the way, he's not an agent, okay? We're not saying it's him. We're saying whoever gives
We're saying the agent of somebody could be putting something out. We don't know. Or not. It could be very accurate. I hope he moves, though. I think we both agree. Real quick on Matthew Hoppe. There was some rumors about Matthew Hoppe getting loaned out to Malaga in the Spanish second division. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I heard today from a source that he's going to start training with Real Mallorca again in the next 2-3 days, and that he wants to stay and that he's happy there. And this was from a very reliable source. I can't really name them. So maybe he's back from injury now.
It has to be Stu Holden, your best friend.
It is definitely not Stu Holden. I don't think Stu Holden would talk to me. But that's what I have heard. Have you heard anything else on Hoppe?
I haven't heard anything on Hoppe. So I would prefer to him to stay and fight for his spot, even if he gets minutes off the bench. But if he's not going to play, then I prefer for him to go somewhere that he gets minutes if he's not going to play.
Right. So we'll see. Quickly from Will Stewart, and thank you, Will. 24 is a bit too old to break into a top 5 league team when you haven't been proven. Not many clubs are willing to take that risk. For a center back, though, 24 is really not that old, Will. It's unusual, but it does happen, right? Now, a top flight team, a top 5 league team, maybe. I could see him being successful in France or even in Germany because he does have the tools. So I don't think it's unrealistic to say for him to go, especially the Bundesliga.
I understand him saying that, yes, less clubs will be willing. I don't think it's willing to take the risk. I think less clubs will be willing to pay a higher fee because if he's older, it's harder to sell him. But I don't think it's too old. If you look at Conte, he didn't really break out into a top league until he was 24, right? 24, 25.
25, Conte. Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave 2 examples earlier in the stream. Ivan Toney right now, Mikel Antonio, which is one of the best center forwards in Premier League, didn't really break out in the Premier League till he was 25. So it's not too old. It's just that at his age, If he was playing like he is at age 19, someone's willing to go, hey, 20 million for this guy because I can resell him. He's
Sure.
24, so it'll be harder to resell him for higher fees. So they're not going to be willing to pay as much. But he can absolutely break through a top 5 league. And he doesn't really have to improve too much to be a solid center back in Bundesliga.
Yeah. No, he's got the tools. He needs to work on some things, but for his sake, he needs to go. Real quickly on Walker Zimmerman. There was rumors of Walker Zimmerman going somewhere as well. I would be very, very surprised if Walker Zimmerman leaves MLS. And if you're talking about 24 being too old, Walker Zimmerman is 28, and he's going to be 29 in April. So he's even older. There's almost no sell-on value for Walker Zimmerman, and he has a contract with Nashville until 2024. So I would be very, very surprised if a club is willing to pay good money for Zimmerman at this point in his career. And talk about unproven. He's never left MLS. He's only ever been, in MLS. There's not much there to go, I believe Walker Zimmerman is going to Europe. It might happen, but I would be very surprised.
And Pete, didn't Nashville just lose Alistair Johnson?
Yes. I believe that he went to Toronto.
Yeah, they're not going to let all their defenders go too. So there's that.
So that's Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman. Like I said, Matthew Hoppe, we'll see. Hopefully he gets some playing time, but if he's not going to play, he should go. Spanish second division, I'd almost prefer MLS, to be honest, but they probably want to keep him close to home so they can scout him and watch his progress. Brian Reynolds is probably, of all these guys, one of the guys who needs to leave the most. 0 playing time, needs to leave. I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing either a loan back to MLS, possibly FC Dallas, or a loan to Anderlecht in the Belgian first division. I would prefer the Anderlecht one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think he should. And Anderlecht's also a good team, so I would be fine with him staying there. So I think Roger Gonzalez was the one that reported MLS, so that pretty much makes it almost impossible for him to go to MLS. It almost makes it pretty much says he's not going to, just like Pepi, right? He reported every single club in Europe, and Pepi went to the one club he never reported. But anyhow, I would also prefer Anderlecht or possibly, ideally for me, I would love to see him maybe go to a weaker Serie A side, even if it's fighting for relegation, Spezia, Venezia, whatever it is that he plays. Not necessarily a lock-in starter, but he gets consistent minutes every week, 45 minutes, 90 every week. That is fine. And preferably I would want that because he would get adjusted to the league and Roma would watch. But if it's MLS or Anderlecht, I would prefer Anderlecht.
Yeah. Anderlecht does have some right backs there already. So I don't know how much playing time he would actually get. I mean, they have Michael Murillo is at Anderlecht. He used to play for the New York Red Bulls, Jamaican Panama as well. Huh?
He's Panamanian.
Panamanian, I'm sorry, yes. So I don't know if he would outshine. I think he's probably a better attacking fullback than Michael Murillo, but I think he's more regardless, he's more likely to get minutes at Anderlecht than he is at Roma. I think that is something we can all be. I would love a loan to Venezia. I think maybe they could use him more, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Speaking of Venezia, Anthony Fontana, another Philadelphia Union product, is apparently going to Venezia. His girlfriend posted an Instagram story the other night saying, when your boyfriend is moving to Italy in 2 days, just sour face or something. I'm hearing Venezia. I don't know what else you've heard. Have you heard anything else?
People are saying Ascoli, and that's first I heard. All I saw was the TikTok or story from his girlfriend.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I know he's a free agent.
I don't know either.
He's a free agent.
Is he a free agent?
I think so. I think he's a free agent.
Some people are saying it's Ascoli. I must have missed out on that one.
So it's the Serie B. Serie B.
I don't know if that's really an upgrade on MLS, to be honest, but maybe, you're in the shop window, I guess. You're closer to, I would prefer, I don't ever want to stop a guy from going to Europe and chasing his dreams, but Serie B just seems more like a lateral move than a, upgrade for Fontana. But
depends on what their project is. Are they moving up? Let me check if they're moving up.
Yeah, you check out Ascoli.
Yeah.
And just real quick, guys, I'm just going to show, this is
Pete, they're a mid-table team in the Serie B. So I'm not a big fan.
I'm not a huge fan of that move, but also Fontana isn't really in the USMNT conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, if that's your dream, give it a shot. Why not, right? I mean, Anthony Fontana's young. He's not as young as some of the other guys. I think he's like 22. But yeah, it is what it is. James Sands is the interesting one. Now, there's rumors here, and I'm going to share this article with you all. Rumors of James Sands going to Rangers. And again, talking a little bit about a lateral move here. So Rangers want to sign New York City youngster James Sands on loan with an option to buy, according to a report. The midfielder, who can also play at center back, could be tempted to move to Scotland, with many American players looking to make a mark in Europe. Sands played 31 times for New York City as they clinched the MLS title under former Celtic boss Ronnie Deila. And reports from whatever that is, say Rangers are hoping to bring him to Scotland on loan with an option to buy. Now, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, the former Barcelona left back, is the one who is coaching Rangers. I like this move not because of the Scottish League. The Scottish League is at best similar to MLS or even below MLS outside of Celtic and Rangers. But Rangers are in the Europa League. So that's what I like about it. I mean, I think that would be a good, I want to say, interim move for Sands. If he performs well in Europa League, it's a higher level. But Scotland itself, I mean, I feel like James Sands can do better. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know much about Celtic and Rangers, and all I know is that the Scottish League is probably below MLS, if we're going to be 100% honest. But Rangers and Celtic would probably be top MLS teams, or probably even champions or title contenders to the very
They
least.
would win MLS.
They would probably win MLS. So he would be going to a strong team. I'm pretty sure that will give him more exposure to maybe an English market, maybe Premier League. He's close. Like you said, Europa League. Since it's Rangers or Celtics, apparently Rangers, based on these reports, I think it's a good move as long as he plays. Now, I don't know anything about their team. I don't know if they need a six, if they need a center back. I don't know their situation. So
yeah,
I can't.
I don't
That I
really
do.
know either. I do think it is time for Sands to go, though. Like Miles
Mhm.
Robinson, he's accomplished. He's been in MLS for 4 years now, right? He's won MLS Cup. He's broken into the national team. I think he needs to be challenged. And he's young enough that at 21, he can really push to become a much better player. What I like about James Sands is he's very good on the ball. And remember, we're still trying to replace Acosta before Qatar. I mean, we, the fans, are. Greg Berhalter is not. Sands is a candidate to replace Acosta, right? I'm not saying he's ready yet. I think he's better on the ball than Acosta. Defensively, I'm not sure. I'm not sure
So
about that.
can I add one thing where you said, I think Greg is trying to replace Acosta as the backup six because he wants to play Acosta as the eight. So I
Right.
think he's trying to replace Acosta too, but not out of the roster. He's trying to replace Acosta to put him in the eight.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't like that. But yeah, let's move on from James Sands. Let's talk about Brendan Aaronson. There were a lot of rumors about Brendan Aaronson. There's AC Milan, there's Leeds, there's RB Leipzig. What are your thoughts initially hearing this?
Well, first thing, I don't think he's going to leave now in January. Two, I wouldn't want him to leave now in January. I think he's well adjusted to Salzburg. They're having a very good season. He's a lock-in starter. He has the Champions League knockout, which they're going to get eliminated by Bayern. We know that. But let him play. He's helped the team make it there. Let him play. During the summer, he joins a team, goes through preseason. Which team will it be? We'll see. The only thing with Leeds United is it's kind of tricky, right? Because with Salzburg, he's almost guaranteed to play Champions League. With Leeds United, he's guaranteed to not play international competitions pretty much, but year-round, he's in the Premier League, which is
But
levels
could
above.
Leeds get relegated? Where are they at now?
No, they're doing fine. They won today. They'll be fine. They're not going to get relegated. They'll be working with Bielsa. I've heard AC Milan. AC Milan is one that does interest
I mean,
me.
they're
I think.
16th, dude. They're only, I mean, yeah, they're 7 points ahead. They'll be fine.
Well, but they're 2 games ahead of Burnley.
That's true. So they technically,
They
I
could.
think it's unlikely they would get relegated. They have too much quality. I think
But
it's very unlikely.
Newcastle will dump in money now in January.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but it seems unlikely to me.
Yeah, but AC Milan is one that I find interesting. It's a good team. It's a big team, a huge brand. Some of the younger viewers might not even understand how massive this club is. They're the same size as of Real Madrid, Barcelona in terms of history, right? They
Yeah,
have
but they're
money.
not that
They're
anymore.
not anymore, but they were at one point. They seem competitive again. They're up there in the Italian Serie A. They're also playing Champions League. I think it would be a good challenge for him. If I had to choose one, I would prefer for him to go to AC Milan from a challenging standpoint. And I think he can fight for that spot. He can definitely do it.
Yeah, I think he does need to push himself out after, at the very latest by the summer. Brendan Aaronson needs to go. I'm not sure I would love Leeds. I don't know if he's ready for the Premier League. I think it's a big jump for him. That's just my personal opinion. I would prefer maybe AC Milan, Leipzig, maybe after in the summer if they sort out their situation. They've got a lot going on. Speaking of Leipzig, Kaden Clark, you and I knew this already, but it's official today. He will be staying in MLS. Now, officially, guys, he's on contract with Leipzig. They've loaned him back out to New York Red Bulls for at least 6 months. In the summer, they're going to reevaluate. I'm going to be honest, I don't love this. And the reason I don't love it is not because I think he was ready for Leipzig. I think it's clear he maybe needed some time. And Leipzig are in the middle of their own struggles, new manager. They're trying to figure things out. But I thought it would have been better to loan him out to Salzburg. Get to play Champions League, Austrian League. It'd be a good jump. And I don't know that the New York Red Bull system really suits him that well right now. Thoughts?
Pretty much the same as you. Obviously, going to Leipzig right now would have been a problem. One, he might need to get ready more as a soccer player for it, experience-wise. And Leipzig is just a mess, and I doubt they would come in with an 18-year-old just arriving and throw him in the field. They probably wouldn't do that.
No.
They have a lot to figure out. But with that said, we've heard he has had offers from clubs in the Dutch league, even Italian league, which are not
Want him
like
on loan.
they're not huge clubs, so he probably would get minutes, and maybe they would be better for his development. Maybe he would. And again, the New York Red Bulls didn't even start him after the appendicitis. So if he's going to go to MLS, I heard he will probably start this season, so that will be one plus. That is one bonus. But I would have preferred for him to just go abroad, start his development there, adjust also because he's a kid and he's going to be adjusting to life living outside the United States, which is different for anyone.
Yeah.
I would have preferred for him to stay abroad. Salzburg would have been wonderful, right? Even if he came off the bench, it would have been a wonderful because then Brendan leaving, he would already be there and then just let him stay another season.
Yeah, it's a smooth transition, It's a smooth transition there. But yeah, look, I mean, better to be playing in MLS than not playing at all in Leipzig. I'll give it that. So that in that sense, it's good. Hopefully he balls out. I mean, we have to admit, though, Clark didn't have a good second half of the season after the appendicitis, right? He struggled, and that's natural. He's 18 years old. Surgery is rough on anybody. And so maybe it's okay for him to do another 6 months and then reevaluate and see how he does. This is all part of it, man. It's all part of young players.
One thing that's interesting, though, him going to MLS will allow him to be part of this, at least for now, before he move. Maybe he'll move abroad over the summer, but at least for these 6 months, he'll be part of the U.S. men's national team U20 cycle.
Yeah.
The U20 cycle. And
but he could even be in Camp Cupcake in January. Right?
He could as well. So there's some benefits to it because then he'll be integrated to the very prestigious Greg Berhalter system, right? That complex system that Greg has that the Twitter tacticians love so much that they can't even explain it because of how complex it is. But he'll be integrated to that. So there's some pluses, but I said this on Twitter too. I'm not the biggest fan of him being in New York Red Bull for another 6 months or maybe even a year, right? The possibility of him
could be up to a year, yes. Yeah, let's see how he does in the first half of the season. Moving on, Mauricio Cuevas. Not a lot of people know that name. Very high ceiling dual national right back. Was in the LA Galaxy Academy. Played for Los Dos for a full, I think, 2 seasons. Very good modern attacking right back. Very technical player. Excellent free kick taker. But a direct free kick taker. Scored, I think, 5 goals from direct free kicks in the USL. 18. I like him a lot. The rumor is that he's moving to Club Bruges in the Belgian league, which I think is a good stepping stone for him. Not sure if it's going to actually happen. I don't know how much truth there is to that rumor, but he's not, what's the word? He's not going to be with the Galaxy. So he needs to go somewhere.
I don't know
Uh,
much about Cuevas to talk about him.
Jose
So
Lopez. I seen him in Los Dos. I was very impressed personally, and this may come back to bite me. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Araujo. I think Araujo might be better defensively, but in terms of an attacking fullback, I think Cuevas is actually better. Jose Lopez, you talk about CCV yet? I don't know if there's any CCV rumors. I think
well,
he's
it's
pretty
just
much
that
going to
he's
stay with
staying at
Celtic.
Celtic. It's
Yeah,
just that he's going to stay with Celtic.
yeah. So I mean, not really a whole lot to talk about there, Jose. CCV's had a very good season at Celtic, right? And hopefully we'll continue to play in the Europa League. Again, Scotland is Scotland. It's still a very low level, but it's the Europa League that, you want to see him doing well in. What's up?
It's a comment I saw in the chat that the guy was trying to say that these guys know nothing about MLS, but he wrote no as an NO. So it's double negative, which means we know a lot about him.
That's Stephen DaCosta. Yeah. So interesting to sort of track what's going to happen with Cuevas. Hopefully he lands somewhere where he can continue to develop. Last one is George Bello to Watford. Do you know much about this?
Just rumors, right? Just one thing to make clear. The first one that popped up was George Bello to Galatasaray. That was a fake rumor made up on Twitter. That one. Since that, I've seen the Watford one, but I don't know what's true or false about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. Personally, I think the Premier League is a very big jump for George Bello right now. George Bello still is a lot to work on technically, reading of the game, positioning. He's very one-footed. He's very what's the word? Like a one-trick pony almost. You know what I mean? Isn't really fluid or technical enough to play in compressed time and space. I want him to move. I think, getting out of Atlanta and going to Europe would be good for him, sort of how Sam Vines did. But I don't know the Premier League is the best place because I think he would get run over in the Premier League right now.
Well, Bello, every time we saw him in World Cup qualifying, which wasn't that much, but even with the national team, he didn't really look very good, right? Even in CONCACAF. So
Even in CONCACAF. So, yeah.
and he's good in MLS, right? He's good, at least in offense, right? He shows some sparks of talent at times. I wouldn't want him in Premier League now. I mean, not okay. That's wrong. It's not that I wouldn't want him in the Premier League. I just don't know if he would be ready to actually be effective in the Premier League.
People saying he's in Watford is not in the Championship, guys. Watford is 17th in the Premier League. They may get relegated in the summer. We'll see. We maybe end up being, but right now they are in the Premier League. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with George Bello. Is there anybody else that you think either needs a move in January or that has been rumored for a move? The only guy I would love to get a move is Ethan Horvath, but I think that's very unlikely. They just signed him. He's their number 2 keeper. I doubt they're going to loan him out, although that would be phenomenal. If it's a loan to MLS, anywhere at this point to be playing. Kevin Paredes to Salzburg was a rumor I heard a while back. I don't know how true it is.
Yeah, I also don't think Kevin Paredes needs a move, right? I think it's okay if he stays in DC and gets full 90 minutes every week. I'm not opposed to it. If he goes to Salzburg, I'm happy for it, but I don't think he necessarily needs it. Just like Yunus Musah too. I don't think he needs a move from Valencia. I would love for him to go somewhere where he's playing very often, right, in La Liga. But if he doesn't leave Valencia right now, it's also okay. I think it's more about players now. If we talk about players, it's just players that we want them to have a move rather than they necessarily need one, right? Like people are going to say Matt Turner as well. I don't think he needs a move. I think he's fine where he is. And
we have enough goalkeepers not playing.
Yes, and I also don't think Turner will improve much from what we've seen. That's his game. He's a great shot stopper. He'll always be. I don't think he's going to get much better with his feet at his age. That's it.
He's 27, so the technical side, again, like DK, he started playing soccer very, very late, which is okay for a goalkeeper, but being able to build out of the back is a real weakness of his. So I don't really think he needs a move. And to be honest, I kind of like that we have at least one goalkeeper who's playing regular minutes out of our 3. So we'll see. Musah, again, I don't think Musah needs to move just yet. Maybe we can reevaluate in the summer if he doesn't get a lot of minutes in the second half of the season. But from a USMNT perspective, it hasn't really hurt his performances at all. So, I'm okay with him sticking around for now. Pulisic will probably be there until the summer. I don't think he's going anywhere. Chelsea have a lot of injury issues. I think Pulisic's going to be there. Hopefully, they play him on like one of the right or left sides of that 3-4-3 and not as a wing back or as a center forward, but we'll see what happens.
Lukaku might be gone.
Lukaku may be gone, which may mean lots of center forward minutes for poor Christian.
No,
I don't know.
But look, he no Lukaku today. And I know he was central at times, but he did play wide at times as well. And
I think
Kai
he
Havertz
drifted wide, but I still think he played as the 9 most of the time. I saw him very
a good
central.
part of it, yeah.
A good part of the game. So
well, now they don't have a center forward besides Timo Werner.
Yeah, Timo Werner. Boy. I don't know, man. I was not impressed with either, especially not with Kai Havertz today. At least with who's the other English kid there?
Mason Mount.
At least Mount works really hard. You know what I mean? Kai, I just don't think he's that anything special. I think he's very average. I saw him give the ball away a lot. I saw him make poor decisions in the attacking third, but I don't know. He doesn't seem to get criticized as much as Christian Pulisic does. But hopefully that goal will really help Christian Pulisic's confidence because he's a confidence player. He gets very streaky. Julian Pinto, where would you like to see Paxton Aaronson go? I think Paxton Aaronson needs to stay another year in MLS, right? I mean, he just broke out last year. He's still very, very young. He still needs to be able to compete physically, and he needs, like, the best thing for Paxton is to have a full season with Philly under his belt, and then we can reevaluate. Anybody else that we should talk about, or do you have anything you want to talk about before we close this off?
It's pretty much what we've been saying. We talked about all the transfer rumors and everything, and I think it's going to be still a very busy month. I think all the names we mentioned here, I would be surprised if at least 1 or 2 of them didn't get a transfer.
Yeah.
One will, like Brian Reynolds will get a transfer alone at least. That one will. The other names we mentioned are 1 or 2 are very likely to do so. I saw some people mentioning here Jesse Marsch, Johnny Cardoso. This is what I can update everyone on Johnny Cardoso's situation. Yeah. His contract expires in December. And for now, he wants to stay in Internacional. He's been in and out like off the bench. So he's kind of like borderline becoming a starter or not, He wants to fight for that starting job. If he's not starting and getting consistent minutes by the middle of the year, then Internacional and him would probably seek a transfer. And he does have offers from abroad already. His agent is the same as Yunus Musah, same agent. So he has a lot of connections in Europe. And we could see Johnny go to Europe but if he's getting minutes and starting for Internacional, from what I've heard, talking to him himself and all of them, their intention is to stay a little bit longer, maybe 1 or 2 seasons starting in Brazil. And I'm fine with that. Moving abroad at 22, starting there. That's the situation with Johnny Cardoso. And Jesse Marsch, I heard he was in the short list to go to Monaco. That's the last thing I heard. I don't know.
Yeah, he needs a chance at redemption somewhere. He has to prove that he's not just a one-trick pony, right? That's the problem with Jesse Marsch. Both at all his places. He's been at all 3 New York jobs. I mean, all 3 Red Bull jobs, New York, Salzburg, and Leipzig. And it's kind of been the same thing. He's a company man. He needs to go somewhere else and prove he can do more than just press and be direct. Because he's still a good coach, and I think he's a very good motivator, very good with his man management. But he needs to show that he can be flexible. Because if you're not flexible, you can't be a successful coach, in my opinion.
Pete, can we talk real quick about Aaronson Sonora? Because it seems to be a lot of misinformation with him in a couple of things. The first thing about Aaronson Sonora is the rumors of Argentina calling him up, which it wasn't really from any Argentina media outlets. It was from some Twitter tacticians. Argentina right now is not considering or talking about bringing in Aaronson Sonora. And I've watched them a few times, and I've talked to Fede and other guys that are Argentine, so they follow that league religiously. And Alan is a good player. And if we're going to bring in Leggett and Roldan, I'm all for bringing Aaronson Sonora. But with other players that we have available that Greg just chooses not to bring, he personally would not make my roster. So that's just saying it to a lot of people that think he's like super special. He's this 10 that has to roam, which what do I mean by that? The team has to be almost built around him. You just let him run the offense. And I'm sorry, we have Giovanni Reina, we have Christian Pulisic, we have players that are way above that we're not going to let him do so. and I don't think he'll be effective as a role player in the system. He has to create. He is a good player. He's technical lefty attacking midfielder. But when you see him play for Independiente on offense, it almost looks like he doesn't have a position. He's everywhere. He goes wherever he wants to. It's not how it's going to work for him, the U.S. national team. For Independiente, he's one of the best players and the creator for the team. So I'm not a big fan of having him in the national team. The only reason I'm okay with having him is based on some of Greg's selections. It's not because we don't have better players. That's just one thing to clear out about Alan. And guys, he's on Paramount Plus, and we're not sponsored by them. You can go watch him play, and you'll see everything I said.
So Chambers, PFOC has been linked with Genoa per Italian press. Guys, I would be very, very surprised if this happens, and I'll explain why.
It was denied already.
It was already denied. Yeah, that does not surprise me. Guys, PFOC is 25 years old, almost 26, and he's still playing in the Swiss league. And to be fair, he's doing well, right? He's scoring goals, and people get very excited about that. But guys, this is my opinion in PFOC, and I'm open to changing it if he shows me something different. But everything I've seen from PFOC is that he's slow. He doesn't use his physique very well as a hold-up striker. He can finish as a poacher sometimes, but his movement over the last 10 yards is not very good. He seems very static to me, and I think that's why he's still in the Swiss league. Yes, I know he got a good goal against Manchester United. It was kind of handed to him on a platter. That's not a replicable thing. I don't really rate Jordan PFOC. I'm fine with him being in this next roster because we've got limited options. But to me, he's very similar to DK, and DK has higher upside than Jordan PFOC. And that's just my opinion.
Less static, too.
A lot less static, uses his body better. I just think if you want that kind of a player up front, DK is a better option. But I mean, I'm open to being wrong. If PFOC starts performing in a different way, then great. But I don't think he's a top 5 league striker. I just don't. And I'll be happy to be wrong if that's true. If somebody buys him and he starts playing well.
So about PFOC too, one thing is just everyone asking here, Alan Sonora is not a box-to-box midfielder. He's an attacking midfielder. Joel Sonora, his brother, I haven't watched Joel Sonora. He's a bench player for Bunfield. Maybe he's a box-to-box, but Alan Sonora is an attacking midfielder. 10 sometimes even plays wide as like a right winger. But in terms of PFOC, I've watched him play for the U.S. men's national team, and I've watched him play both games against Manchester United, right? I don't watch the Swiss league. He never impressed me in anything, right? The goal against Manchester United, I don't know why no one talked about this. Not only the goal was almost pretty much handed to him, he almost missed it. He falls when he finishes, and then the ball bounces over David De Gea, and then he scores. He's very static. The hold-up game is okay. It's nothing special. It's an okay hold-up game. Doesn't move around. It's a lot of what Pete said. He has physicality. He can finish in front of the goal, but so can DK, right? And like Pete said too, I'm open also to changing that if we see him perform for the men's national team or maybe in a different club when he leaves, because I'm not going to go watch the Swiss league. So, but as of now, everything I've seen from PFOC, it hasn't impressed me.
Yeah, same. Will Stewart says, let me just give you an example. Everyone's smashing Josh Sargent, understandably, because he's not playing well in the Premier League. But if Josh Sargent was playing in the Swiss league, he would be bagging goals with even more frequency than PFOC, in my opinion. And we'll talk about Sargent in just a second, guys. But first,
Bundesliga 2, Pete. He scored when he played this season.
Yeah, and and then also he scored against a championship team twice. So maybe Sargent is just a level too high. Maybe he's just a second division striker, which, maybe he gets, Norwich is going to get relegated almost for sure. And then maybe 6 months in the championship before the World Cup will do Sargent some good, But let's talk about this. Have you heard any news on McKennie? Apparently, Conte's number 1 target, Tottenham, and are on the verge of top 4, undefeated in the last 8. With our lack of number 8s, he would likely play. You mean our lack of number 8s, he would likely play week in and week out. So I have heard the rumors like everybody else, but I don't know how true they are. I would be surprised if they let McKennie go before the summer because he's a huge part of Juve, probably one of their best midfielders right now. I would be very surprised if Juve lets him go, especially since they still have Champions League, right?
Yeah, I doubt he'll leave. I doubt he'll leave in January. Summer, who knows? Maybe that can happen. Tottenham has a lot of money, but during the season, I doubt it. He's starting for them every game when he plays, and he's been playing super well. And
Yeah.
Juventus, they're getting rid of, I think, Morata now, so they're going to get some money from that.
Yeah. And
So
they're
I doubt
chasing a
that.
top 4 spot for next season, Juventus, right? They need to
Yeah,
make Champions League next season. They
desperately,
still desperately,
desperately.
and they still have Champions League this season to focus on as well. So I'd be very surprised if they let McKennie go.
Pete, you skipped the super chat of Chris Gary. He said, "Do you think Ethan Horvath will leave this summer?" You kind of already responded to that, but that's just his super chat
Oh
from
yeah,
Chris.
sorry, Chris. I apologize. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, maybe I would be surprised because he just signed a contract there, so he has no leverage, right? Maybe on a loan. I just don't think Nottingham Forest, it's not in their best interest to let him leave, and why would somebody pay money for him when he was free a year ago? I mean, maybe I think it's very unlikely. I'd say 20% chance he leaves, maybe not even 15%. Like, it's just, I can't see it. And it was the wrong club at the wrong time for Ethan after, a frustrating spell over in Belgium. All right. We'll talk about Sargent in just a second. Garrett Sims. Atlanta lost one of their starting center backs to the MLS expansion draft. On top of that, I think ATL will sell Miles in the summer to get more money too. Well, guess we'll see. We'll see. I certainly hope they let him go at some point. Sargent's struggling, guys, and I know that Scuffed put out a compilation or retweeted a compilation of all his misses in the Premier League, and his confidence is completely shot right now, but he's still 21 years old, right? And I think Sargent needs to drop down a level, which he will with Norwich, it looks like. And then we see how he looks in the Championship, right? Where I think he could actually be good. Most of his goals for Werder Bremen came against second division sides in the DFB Pokal. When he dropped down for like 1 or 2 games, he already had 2 goals. And his 2 goals this season came against a Championship side. So maybe he's just at a level too high. But don't give up on Josh Sargent. I know people want to give up on him. He's 21 years old, right? A lot of guys don't start becoming anything until they're in their late 20s. So let's just wait and see. He's not a midfielder. He's not really a winger, guys. Just because he's being played there, that doesn't mean that's who he is. There's tongue-in-cheek stuff about him being a 6. He's not that either, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts?
We saw. Well, I just keeping everything you said, but to add one thing is his confidence is clearly low. And today we got a big sample of how much a player's confidence can shift with one goal with Christian Pulisic. Pulisic was not playing well until he scored. When he scored, you saw different confident Pulisic going at defenders, tough to take the ball from, creating dangerous plays. Maybe what Sargent needs is that, right? Get a goal, get some confidence, or maybe what you said, go to a lower league, score 15 goals, get his confidence up, and then come back, and then he'll be effective. Also, he's 21, so if he gets relegated, plays a season in Championship or 2, let's say he plays 2, he'll come back at age 24, which is what Miles Robinson is right now.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Josh Sargent was in MLS, he'd be scoring 15 to 20 goals a season, and we would be saying he should start for the U.S.
Unless he plays for Cincinnati.
Unless he plays for Cincinnati. But even then, I think he would actually do some interesting stuff. Not exactly a transfer, but have you all heard anything new on Reyna? Haven't heard anything myself since he went back to training a bit over a month ago. So we just talked to Josh, who's a Dortmund fan, 2 days ago. And yeah, he's back in training. He was training before the Christmas break. They probably didn't want to risk him because he's been out for 4 months with a muscle injury. But he's back in full training. I expect him when, the Bundesliga starts again, I expect him to be on the bench for Dortmund. I don't expect him to be anything more, but maybe they're going to take it even slower. I don't know. But I expect him to be back, and everything we've heard seems to confirm that he will be back. Frank Kassler, and thank you for all the super chats, guys. Juve might have to sell Weston if they're forced to be relegated per the raid. What is a raid?
Well, they're having some financial issues that they could lose points in the league. I didn't look into it, so I don't know how it affects them having to sell certain players. What is the situation? Yeah. But if Frank has more info on it, maybe he has a point. It could be,
maybe,
but I don't know.
Again, if that happens, it's more likely to happen in the summer. I don't know if that would happen in January.
I remember them. They got relegated in the 2000s. Remember that?
Yes, they got relegated for corruption.
They had all these
their way back up.
Yeah, they had all these players that were World Cup champions playing the Serie B. Remember, it was
I
Cannavaro,
think it
Del
was Serie
Piero.
C, actually. Wasn't it Serie
C?
C?
I think it was B. It was 1 year that they were away. I think it was B.
I think it was worse. I think it was actually C, but I'll double check. Juve is under investigation, may get relegated. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some more research into that. Sorry, guys, I am late. Did you talk about Dest and the Barca drama yet? Yes, we did. Been a long time since I've seen a new manager treat a player like this. Yeah, I mean, look, Xavi doesn't believe in him, right? He doesn't rate him. Xavi's playing center backs as fullbacks right now. I think we're hoping he gets a move. We think it would be good for him, or at least a loan. But if you want like a bigger breakdown, go watch the beginning of this video because we spent more time on it. So, all right, guys, it's been an hour. I got to take off here. But Tack, do you have any videos that you have coming up that you want to plug?
Not that I can think of right now. We'll just be covering this month transfers that come out. Once the MLS roster comes out, I'll probably do a stream or a video. Even though it's not the main roster, there will be some interesting takes on it that we can do depending on the names that are there. And the names, we'll probably get more takes on the names that are not there than the ones that are there. So pretty much that. Besides that, I think one thing we can remind everyone, since we have a lot of people here, is me and P will be in Kansas City January 19th to the 22nd. If you're in Kansas City, we'll meet you up there. We're going to be in the United Soccer Coaches Convention.
Yeah.
So pretty much that. And then, man, 2022 is starting pretty well, and I'm looking forward to a World Cup year. World Cup year, we got to qualify.
We are officially in a World Cup year, guys. It is very exciting. Tack and I are going to ramp up production of videos and content even more this year, and it's going to be a very exciting year to be an American, not only because of the World Cup, but because of the transfers and our guys playing at high levels. Could we see another American in the Champions League final this year? I think that would be great. I think our chances are fairly high of that happening. So let's wait and see what happens. But 2022 is going to be amazing. We are going to qualify, guys. There's no way, in my opinion, that we don't qualify for the World Cup. Even if, God forbid, we get fourth place, we'll very likely play New Zealand in a one-off. And if we can't beat New Zealand in a one-off, we don't deserve to go to the World Cup. But I do think we will make top 3. I don't think it'll end up coming to that. Tack, any thoughts? Any closing thoughts?
That's it. We play Canada in a couple of days, and there's a lot at stake in that game in terms of bragging rights and World Cup, so we better win that.
Yep. All right, Spencer, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for all of your support and your love in 2021. Happy New Year. 2022 is going to be fun. We'll talk to you guys soon.